Hello Flosstube friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren. I am also known as Cross Stitch Bunny here on YouTube and over on Instagram, and this is my Flosstube channel all about cross stitching. So if it's cross stitching that you are interested in and you have just found me, you are in the right place. If you are a returning viewer or returning subscriber coming back to check in on my July progress, then thank you for coming back. I do really appreciate every single one of you that tunes in, as it were, to see what I have been up to stitching wise. It has been exactly 2 weeks since I last filmed. Flosstube number 16 was done on the 18th of July, and since then I have done 25 hours of stitching. So I have 25 hours of stitching progress to share with you, and just for those of you that are interested, my overall stitchy time for July has been 54.5 hours. So that is everything I'm showing you today, plus all the stitching that was in my previous episode 16 if you've not watched that one. So yes, 54.5 hours overall total stitching time. I have 5 projects to show you. So the 5 projects that I've worked on since my last Flosstube includes 3 WIPs that you have seen before, 1 new start, and a finish, which I'm going to save to last because I'm just so excited to share this particular finish with you. I'm sure when you see it, it will be clear why. Very quick life update before we launch into the stitching. I have had a crazy day today. I did not think that I was going to get to film this on the 1st of August. I'm very glad that I've made time to sit down and do it, but today has been a travelling day for me. So I have travelled back from staying with my parents for a number of days with the children. We had a fantastic time. They always love going to stay with Grandma and Grumps. I love going to catch up with my parents. We've had a lovely few days together. It's been really nice. But the journey back was a little bit of a frantic disaster. I had set off and timed it to miss traffic in all the kind of bad points between my mum and dad's home and my home, because it's a good 3-hour drive and can be significantly longer on a bad day if you don't time it right. So I thought I timed it all right and everything was good. And less than an hour into the journey, my daughter, with no warning whatsoever, she didn't tell me that she didn't feel unwell, she just all of a sudden was sick everywhere, and there was nothing I could do about it. And literally the second that she was sick was the second that the motorway just ground to a halt. So I was just stuck in standstill traffic a couple of miles from a service station. There was no hard shoulder because there was roadwork, so I had nowhere to pull over. I was just stuck in traffic. She was sick. Yeah, it was not good. We did finally get to a service station after she'd had to sit there for about 15 minutes, bless her. And then when I got to the services, I opened the doors, and luckily her brother was asleep, so he was asleep. I got little one out, cleaned her up, and literally as I started to clean her up, loads of wasps just surrounded my car and were flying in and out of the car. Oh, and it was awful. I don't mind bees. Bees are nice, but wasps terrify me. I've always been terrified of them. I'm a flailer and a flapper and a runner when it comes to wasps. I just have a really difficult time staying calm around them. I am a bit irrational and don't like them. And obviously when you're around children, I try not to be like that because I don't want to pass on my fear to them. But it was a bit of a tricky challenge because they were literally flying into my car. I think they were attracted by the smell of what had been going on in there, and obviously it's liquid, and yeah, we won't go into that too much, but yeah, it was not good. I did not have a good time, and I did finally get her cleaned up, got her seat cleaned up, got her back in to drive the rest of the way home. But I knew that there was at least 1, possibly 2 wasps still in my car that I had not seen vacate after they'd flown in. So then I was driving with the windows down and the sunroof open, and just holding my steering wheel and just telling myself, if one appears, do not panic, do not panic, do not panic when you're driving. And luckily it didn't happen. They must have exited, they might have exited out of the back windows while I was concentrating on the road. Nothing bad happened, but it was one of the worst journeys home I have ever had. So yes, I thought I would cheer myself up by filming my Flosstube now that I'm back. Yeah, so we will launch into the stitching. The order that I'm going to do things in today, we are going to look at my new start, we're going to look at my 3 whips, and then we're going to look at my finish. After that, I have a little bit of haul to show you guys, including a lovely piece of Stitchy kindness that I am really excited to have received, and I love it. And then I'm going to finish off after haul, for those of you that are interested to stick around a bit longer, with a little additional segment for this Flosstube, and that is going to be on how I track my stitching progress. So that will be like in terms of like hours, like how do I time my stitching and track it in terms of time, and also like how do I keep track of like how much I've worked on which project, and what days I've stitched and what days I've not stitched, and how do I keep track of which whips I've got on the go and when they're finished, and all those kind of things. I know everyone tracks in different ways. The way that I track is not revolutionary, but I do get quite a few questions asking me, like especially about like the hours and the timing, like how do I track my stitching. So if you're interested, that will be covered a little bit after I have shown you my haul. So first off, let's have a look at my new start. So I decided, oh, apparently I'm unorganised because I can't see what I'm looking for. Bear with me guys. Now here it is. So I have had one new start. There, I found it, sorry about that. And this is my new start. Just move it this way, that's probably easier. And this is not a huge start, but there has been some progress on this. I think I've done about 4 hours on this so far. You can see this is going to be a typography design, and it is an Congdon design from her new book. So this is the 3rd design from Cross Stitch for the Heart that I am working on. I've previously done the We Rise pattern with the deer and the other animals in a stack. I have also done like the Everything You Are Yet to Be pattern, and I've completed both of those. So this is my 3rd new start from the same book. This is pattern number 19, and I will just show you, for those of you who have not got the book yet, in case you are interested, it is this one here. And this is sort of the remembrance or grief stitch in this book, and it says, perhaps they are not stars but rather openings in heaven where the love of our lost ones pours through and shines down upon us to let us know they are happy. And that is attributed as being an Inuit proverb, and I just think it is beautiful. It's beautiful wording. And when I did my flip through of this book and asked you guys which pattern you would be most likely to stitch first, a lot of people said that it would be that one. So yes, I have got round to it fairly early. It is the 3rd one that I'm doing from the book. Unfortunately, not for nice reasons. Like I said, obviously it is a grief or remembrance piece, and somebody close to our family. They're not a blood relative. They are someone that has been part of my life for a long time, since I was very small, since I was born. Like an honorary auntie. My honorary auntie has passed away. I'm not necessarily doing this to like gift to her relatives or family. I just was inspired to start stitching it when we found out, like I found out less than a week ago that she'd passed away, and I just wanted to pick this design up and start stitching it, and I've just been finding it, I don't know, like meaningful to stitch, I guess, because of that. So that is my new start. It's a beautiful piece, it's lovely, I am enjoying it, and I am stitching this with all the called for DMC colours on just navy blue 14 count Ada. So that is my new start. My next project to show you is an existing whip, so you have seen it before, and that is my Bothy Wrendale Grow Your Own piece. So this came as a kit from Bothy Threads, and I am stitching it with all the kit material. So I believe that this is 14 count Ada. It is the classic Wrendale speckled Ada that comes with all the Wrendale kits, and I will show you what this will look like when it is completely finished. And then I will also show you my progress since the last time you saw it. And I hope that you can see I have made quite a bit of progress. I have not started any of those vegetables or anything last time you saw it. And it has been quite nice to switch from doing all the brown in the bunny and just start doing, I think there's the carrots here, and maybe this is the start of the potatoes, I think. But yes, I have enjoyed doing some more work on this. Now this for July was not part of my WIPGO goals or anything like that, but you know when something is just calling to you, and I was just thinking to myself that I hadn't picked this up for too long and I just really fancied it. So yes, I was not stitching on this to complete any particular goal for WIPGO or anything like that. I just really wanted to stitch on it, so that's what I did. I think sometimes that's important as well, like if you are doing something like WIPGO or some kind of other stitching challenge, or you've set yourself goals for a month, like it's nice to have goals to focus on, and I find that that can spur me on to do more stitching. But at the same time, if you're just in the mood to stitch on something else, like I don't think you should force yourself to stick to those goals. I definitely don't, and that is why the bunny got pulled out this month, or this month just gone. Similarly, I did a bit more work on my Nora Corbett sunflower fairy, and again she was not a goal for this month or anything like that, but I just really fancied stitching on her. She's very small, so I'll bring her as close to the camera as I can. She is being stitched on 22 count hardanger, that's hand dyed. Not hand dyed by me, this is just from my stash, and I honestly have no idea where it's from. It's just like a mystery piece in like blue tones, but it's very pretty. And I will show you, so this pattern is from the, is it Hirschner's website, I think, and it is a download, so I'll just show you the printout. That is what she will look like when she is finished. And then compared to how she's looking today, I will just show you what she looked like last time you saw her. So you can see I've made quite a lot of progress. She has a head. I would have bring her closer, she's so small. So she has a head, she has hair, and on the bottom, oh gosh, my camera's being awful, sorry. On the bottom here, if I can get any closer, I'm not sure that I can without it blurring, so I have to stay here. I have started doing the beading as well, and the flower head here has some beads around it, and I just need to work my way up here. There's some more petals to do, and then just the top of the main sunflower here. But yes, you can see that I've made quite a bit of progress. She's looking very different to the last time you saw her here on my Flosstube. And yes, I'm loving her. The seed beads that I'm using seem to be fitting okay on the 22 count. I've not changed the size of the beads because even though she's recommended to be stitched on 32 count, all the beads in the original design are just the tiny seed beads, as opposed to the petite beads, as opposed to like the standard seed bead size. And I did previously mention I've seen someone stitch a Mirabilia or Nora Corbett design over one on 28 count and replaced all the beads with petite, and it looked good. So yeah, pleased to report that it is working nicely on the 22 count with those small beads. And that is all good. My next WIP to show you is probably predictable. It is my progress on the 9 jars sal. Those of you that have been doing this along with me, thank you so much for sharing your progress. Again, I've had some emails and plenty of you using the hashtag on Instagram to show your progress. I'm not going to show people's progress today. I will save that for my next episode when we are actually on to the next part, just for the sake of this episode not being too long, and just because I'm a little disorganised, having only just got home. I have not been through and like collated everyone's pictures to be able to share today, but I am really enjoying seeing all your pictures and I will show them in the next episode. But this is my progress. So I have started on my second jar. I chose to go up, and you can see what this is looking like versus last time, and we have until the 5th of August to get this jar done. So I will be trying to work on this and stay on track and get it finished on time, being that it is my own sal. I feel like I cannot fall behind on my own sal. So I need to finish this jar by the 5th of August. It shouldn't be too difficult. A few of you have already finished your second jar. They're all looking great. And yeah, I am stitching this on plain white 18 count Ada. That is my third and final whip. Yes, which means we are on to my finish. And I'm super excited to share this finish with you because it is my Ophelia's Pearl. So this is my very first Mirabilia finish. Just get the board to hold it up against to make sure you can get a good look. I am so excited that she is done. Here she is. I'll hold her back here so I can fit her all on. So yes, this is my very first Mirabilia / Nora Corbett finish. She was not my first start. So the very first Mirabilia design I ever started stitching on was the Baker's Wife. I put very little time into her and I still love her, but yes, I just decided that I wanted to do a big lady as my first one, so I moved on to Ella, the Frog Princess, and I've done quite a lot on her, but then I wanted a new start when I attended the Not Only But Also Mirabilia retreat, and this was that new start. So I started this at the retreat, my very first retreat in April of this year. And here she is now finished. I'm just going to get a bit closer to the camera, try and give you the best view that I possibly can. Look at all that beautiful beading around her hair and head, and she's holding like a shell, like an oyster shell with a pearl in it. More beads all down her hair. All these ribbons and tendrils. Beautiful tail at the bottom with all these gorgeous colours in. Like I said, I absolutely love her, I really do. I'm so pleased. I know that she is only one of the petite mermaids, so she is not huge, but you know, she was still a good amount of work, a lot of hours have gone into her, and I'm just so proud of her. I'm also relieved a little bit that she is finished because I did do her skin 1/1. So yes, if you look at that, I'll just bring her a bit closer again, but just look at that. 1/1 skin, and it was definitely a challenge. There were a couple of people that I was messaging at one point being like, why did I do this? Why did I do the 1/1? I just want it to be finished. But yes, worth the effort in the end. I was talking to my friend Hannah on Instagram, and Hannah had warned me, like when I posted an Instagram post up showing that I had just made a start on doing the skin 1/1, Hannah messaged me and warned me. She was like, don't do it, Lauren. She was like, I made that mistake and it was terrible, and then I hated my project for weeks having to do it. And I said to her, it's too late now, like I've started, so it's too late, but I am glad that I finished, and I'm not sure that I will be in a rush to do the same again. Like, I'm not sure. I have a few Mirabilias on the go, and some of them have a lot more skin than others. Now with this design, I thought it was a really manageable one to try it out on, because in reality there's not much skin, is there? It is just those arms, face, and like her décolletage. There's not a lot of skin. It's not like she's a mermaid that's skin from the waist up like a lot of them are, or some of the big fancy ladies. Do you know, their arms are a lot longer, they've got a lot more skin on show, legs as well. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be in a rush to do 1/1 on my next. Still have a little while to decide. Like I said, I've got Ella on the go and I'm undecided, but it's going to be ages until I get to needing to do her skin, so I just don't need to worry about it at this point. The same with my Snow Maiden, my Baker's Wife, and the others that I've got on the go. And then of course with my Sunflower Fairy, I'm doing that all on a small count, so I'm not switching to to 1/1 for the skin on that, if that's just all being stitched 1/1. So that is all my stitching, and finishing my Ophelia's Pearl does give me a big nice tick off my WIPGO board. So very quickly, I have not done a proper WIPGO update for a while. This printout hasn't worked very well, my printer's playing up, but this is my WIPGO board, and I'm not expecting you to read all the projects, but basically, in a nutshell, obviously there are 25 squares on this, and if they are either green or yellow, like with the colour coding that I've done, if they are either green or yellow, that means that they are either called for and finished, or they've not yet been called, but I finished them so I can turn them green as soon as they are called. And I've got 13 squares now that are either green or yellow, so the work is done. Whether they've been called or not, the work is done. So that's 13 out of 25, so just over half. And that leaves me with 12 squares that are either pink or blue, and pink or blue either means that they have been called but I've not finished the work, or that they've just not been called yet at all. So, I mean, it is the 1st of August, so the first day of the 8th month of the year. There's 4 months of the year left, and I'm about halfway with ticking things off my WIPGO, so one could say that I have fallen a little bit behind in terms of the number of squares that I have boxed off at this point. I am behind. But there is a good mix of sort of big and smaller goals on here. I realistically at this point am not expecting that I'm going to get a total blackout on my board by the end of the year. I think that's probably a bit unrealistic, and I'm not going to amend my board at this point. I'm not going to take off the goals that I know are not achievable and replace them, because you know, the whole point is like setting the goals and seeing how far you do. I did make adjustments to my board back in January because it was my first ever time doing WIPGO, and I felt I'd been really over ambitious. I'd made a few mistakes with setting it up, and I felt like a month in it was okay to realise that and do some changes. But at this point, when we're so far into the year, I'm not going to change it. So what doesn't get done won't get done. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good that my mermaid got ticked off because she was a biggie, because my goal on here was to start any Mirabilia new start and also finish it, and I selected Ophelia's Pearl to be the project for that goal. Now obviously I didn't start her in the month of July when she was called, I started her back in April, but that was a goal for this year, to start and finish a Mirabilia design, whichever one it was, within the same year, and I've done it. So yeah, that is brilliant. I'm really pleased with that. So, haul is next. I don't have a huge amount of haul to show you, but I do have a few bits, so I'm just going to grab those. So, for haul, I would like to start off with a lovely bit of Stitchy kindness. I received this lovely card, and I'm going to take it out of its packaging. I received this from Somerset Stitchers on Instagram, whose name is Emma, and Emma sent me this gorgeous card. Isn't it beautiful? Like all that lovely stitching, and it's got this little shell charm on it, and she has like triple mounted the anchor stitching onto a white card, and then onto pale blue card, and then onto darker blue card, and then it's finished off on this lovely just neutral card with the yellow ripped paper as well. I just think it is beautiful. Now this wasn't a surprise, I knew that she was sending it to me, but it was still so kind. I had spotted this, like she had featured this card on her Instagram grid, and I had just messaged her saying how much I loved it and thought it was beautiful, really liked it, and I had wanted to buy it because for a while she was selling some of her cards through Instagram, and then she'd stopped doing that, and by the time I messaged her being like, where has it gone, like I can't see it on your stories anymore, she said that she had taken them all off sale, but she sent this one to me anyway, and she wouldn't let me buy it. She just sent it to me as a beautiful gift. And I was really excited because although Emma didn't sit down and stitch this for me with me in mind, like nonetheless, this is the first thing I have ever received from anyone that has been stitched, and you know, we all know the hours that go into things, and you know, it is a small, but it's not the smallest of smalls, and it's got quite a lot of backstitch detail in it. And yeah, I was just really happy to receive this, and I am going to frame it. So our main family bathroom is like nautical themed, and I already have a few things here and there, like we've got some big shells, and I have one big wall hanging above the bath that has a huge anchor on it with some wording. So yeah, this will be perfect, and I am planning to frame it in like a small, just plain white shadow box frame, I think. And yeah, this is going to go in my bathroom. I'm not going to send it, even though it is a card. She even sent me the envelope with it, so I could send it as a card to someone, but there is no way that the first and only stitched gift that I've ever received is definitely not being re-gifted. That is going to be framed, and I'm going to enjoy looking at it every time I'm in the bathroom. So thank you so much again to Emma, and definitely go and check out her Instagram, Somerset Stitches. I will put her Instagram name below so you can see. I have mentioned her before, and yes, just a lovely account, lots of things on there, lots of beautiful stitching of really, you know, varied stitching, lots of different types of things that Emma stitches. So yeah, thank you again, Emma. So that is my bit of stitchy kindness, and then the rest of my haul is stuff that I have bought. So the first thing I have to show you is that I went ahead and got the Firefly fairies chart that many of you I think will recognise. So this is a lavender and lace chart. I am not going to take it out of the packet despite the glare, I'm sorry, and so hopefully you can see it okay, but this is something I've had my eye on for quite a while. I've seen like a number of people stitch it, but of course it is out of print. I've been keeping my eyes open on eBay. I've seen it come up a few times and I've missed out, or it's just been too expensive. I did manage to get it this month. This month just gone in July, I finally found a copy that came up with good timing, and that, you know, wasn't too expensive. So yes, I'm looking forward to doing this. This has always reminded me of the three fairies out of Sleeping Beauty, and Sleeping Beauty and Little Mermaid were my two favourite Disney films when I was a lot younger. But yeah, I went through a really big Sleeping Beauty phase where I would just watch it constantly, like over and over again, when I was like a young teenager maybe, or maybe even earlier than that. But yeah, the three fairies on there remind me of the three fairies, and I don't know when I'm going to stitch it, but I'm just so glad that I've now got the pattern. The next bit of haul I've got is this. So this is Miss Pussy Willow by Nora Corbett. I don't think this is a Mirabilia. It is, yeah, just from like the Nora Corbett range. I hope you can see her. I have never seen anyone stitch her, and I just saw the pattern and thought it was beautiful, so I am going to stitch her at some point soon. And then in the back of here you can see I have a load of supplies, which is loads of Karen water lilies, some DMC, some Krennic, I never know the pronunciation. Someone please tell me, because I say it differently in every video. And there is also an embellishment pack here, and hidden behind all of those there is a second chart. Now, I am not going to show you the second chart I have purchased because it is going to be a gift stitch, and the person that I am going to stitch it for may well be watching this. But yes, there is a second chart in here which is a Mirabilia, and all will be revealed at some point in the future. You can see that I've kitted, like I've got all the supplies for it ready this month. The only thing I need to do is select a fabric, which I will do from my own stash or my shop stash. But yes, I've got a surprise stitch all kitted up that I'm hoping to start fairly soon. I'm not sure if it's too ambitious to try and get it done for Christmas, to gift it for Christmas, I'm not sure. I may or may not try, so we'll see. The next bit of haul that I've got for you, so this is a pattern that I started stitching very early in my stitching journey. So I was a teenager when I started to stitch this kit, and we bought it from a little shop in Scotland close to where our house in Scotland used to be. Like I used to spend a lot of time in Scotland when I was younger. We had a house there, a holiday home. We used to spend a lot of time there. And there was a small Stitchy shop there, and yes, I bought this, or my mum bought this for me from that shop, and I started stitching it, but the pattern was incredibly tricky to follow. I don't know whether it's because I was just a beginner at the time. This was like one of the first, or the first really large projects that I attempted, and it never got finished, and it went through various moves with me when I was moving around with uni, and then I moved abroad for a while. I lived in Switzerland for a little while, in Geneva, and then I moved back and it just got lost. I don't know where it went. I do think that I eventually threw it away, to be honest, because it's nowhere and it's not with any of my other stitching things, and I really regretted like giving up on it, because I think what it was is that I was finding the pattern tricky to follow. I made a few mistakes, and particularly like the feathers on it that have all the back stitch. It's a completely, from what I remember, the entire pattern is completely black and white, and there must be at least 10 or 12 different colours used in the back stitch, and all of them are represented by black lines, but just maybe slightly different. Like some of the dots on one style of line are slightly further apart than the others, and one line is thicker than that line, but they're all very similar because there's no colour differentiation between the back stitch on the pattern. I remember getting really flustered by it, frustrated, and I just didn't finish it. And my mum has asked me about this a number of times, like, oh, have you still got that Dreamcatcher pattern that you started in Scotland, and did you ever finish it? And I was like, no, I think it's lost. I didn't want to say to her, like, I think I've binned it because I gave up. Yeah, and I was really sad, and I just kept a lookout for it, and I found it on eBay. Obviously, it's a really old kit, but I now have the complete kit, and I am going to start this at some point again, and this time I'm going to battle through it and just have creative license with the colours of the back stitch if necessary, but I'm going to finish this, which will be lovely. Not too much more left now. One more bit of Jolly July haul is this stocking. This is a dimension stocking with the lovely little polar bears and some red cardinals. I was hoping that I would have this to show you in my last Flosstube with all my other Jolly July haul, because I've done some Jolly July shopping, but this kit had been on a bit of an adventure, so I bought it off eBay, and I think it took about 2.5 weeks to arrive to me, to the point where I really thought that it was lost, and the lady that had sent it to me, I think, pretty much thought it was lost. And yeah, we were on the verge of having to resolve that, and when I said, oh, we'll give it a few more days, and then it turned up like, yeah, 2.5 weeks later. So I'm so pleased that it's here, and I will add that to my little stocking collection of stockings to be stitched. And I think I need to not buy any more stockings now, because I already have more stockings than I have children, because I've only got 2 children, and even if I do stockings for myself and for Adam, and maybe even for our parents and stuff as well, if I do that as well, I think I've still got too many stockings to stitch and not enough people to give them to. Then my very last bit of haul was a complete surprise. So when I turned up home today and arrived home, this magazine was waiting for me, and the free gift this month with World of Cross Stitching is these little cute hedgehog bobbins. It's quite a nice issue. I have had a really brief flick through, and it's got some nice Halloween 3D houses, which I think look really cool, and I saw the preview of them in last month's issue. However, when I've looked in the magazine at the pattern for them, obviously I can't show you the pattern, but it looks so confusing to me, because it's not like one big pattern, because it's a 3D model. It's just like loads of tiny charts that you stitch each one onto plastic canvas, and then you have to cut it all out and put it together, and it's probably not as complicated as my brain is thinking it is. But yeah, it just looks a bit overwhelming. I wish I could show you. I'm sure a few of you will have this and see what I mean, but it's just like, yeah, like dozens of little tiny small blocks of stitching to do. So yeah, it's like 12 patterns for the one pattern, and then you have to piece them together. And as much as I think these houses are really cool, I'm just not sure if I want to tackle that. So yeah, I'm not sure that I will actually stitch them, but they are really cool to look at. hoping someone else might stitch them and post to Instagram, and then I can just enjoy your progress. But yeah, this was a surprise to me because my subscription has expired, or I thought it had expired. And yes, I think this must just be my last issue, and I didn't realise I still had one more issue coming, and I've checked and it hasn't renewed and they haven't rebilled me. But yeah, I was just really surprised that this turned up because I thought that my last issue was my last paid for issue, but apparently not. So that is all my haul, that is all my stitching. If you want to stick around for a few more minutes, I am just going to cover off how I track my stitchy progress because I do get asked. So I know that loads of different people track their stitching in different ways. Some people don't track it at all and just like to just enjoy doing the stitching, and they don't worry about any facts or figures or numbers or anything like that. And like, obviously there's no right or wrong way to stitch or to track your stitching, but I personally, I like to track things. I like to be able to like record things. Yeah, I think it just like motivates me, and it means that I can look back over things and see how much I've done, and I like that. So my tracking system is, to me, like pretty simple, but it does involve like quite a lot of paper, and I know that I could do this on like an Excel or something like that, and I do use my Excel for like tracking my stitchy spending and things like that, for what I'm buying. And yes, but there's something nice about paper and having cute little notebooks, isn't there? So I will show you the way that I track my stitching, and the main way I do it. So I have two books. This one is my 5-year stitching diary. So this is one A4 book, and inside it, every month has a layout like this. So every double spread is 1 month, and then it gives you like a note section down the side. But yeah, it's quite a large box for every given day of the month. There's plenty of space. And in this one book, which you can see is not that thick, this is 5 whole years worth of stitching. So I can record 5 years of stitchy progress in this one book that does not take up a lot of room at all. And I really like that. So yeah, that is my main stitching diary, a 5-year diary. It is not stitchy specific, it is just a 5-year diary off of Amazon, which I think was less than a tenner. So that is book 1. Then I have my smaller notebook, which is more of like a working diary for tracking my whips and ticking them off when they're done. So when I start a whip, I write down what it is in here. So I write down like the name of what it is, the artist and the start date, the fabric that I'm doing it on, and the threads that I am using. Ooh. Sorry, I just dropped something. So yeah, that is the info that I record for every project that I start. So yeah, I have a whip section here at the front, and every whip that I am starting just gets jotted down in there. And then when I have finished it, I tick it off. So I highlight it, tick it off, just make a note of when it was finished. But then I jump to the finishes section, and I also record it as a finish, just with less detailed information. So my finishes page in here just says what is the design, who's it by, when did I start it, and when did I finish it. So you can just see here on this double spread, that is all my finishes for the entire year of 2021, and in total there were 18 of them. So yeah, that is all 18 of my finishes recorded for last year. And then this year so far, I have got 10 finishes. So that is my 10 finishes so far for this year. So yeah, that is how I record my whips and my finishes, as in what am I stitching, what material am I using, what threads am I using, when did I start it, and when did I finish it. And that's all in this little book, which, yeah, I mean, I don't know how long this will last me, but I think it will last a long time, possibly longer than my 5-year diary, because there's just so many pages in it. And like I said, each finish that I record only takes up like 1 line, and the whips take up a bit more space than that for me to record all their information. But like I'm using 2 sections for that. Like this book has all these different sections and I've got like 2 of the sections reserved for whips. So yeah, that is how I kind of track that bit of my stitching. And then in terms of the hours, so in the front of this little whip book that I always have, I have one of those pads of papers for like weekly tracking of whatever you're doing. So this was my July one, and what I basically do, like they are for weekly tracking, I just have a pad with these A4 sheets that you can tear off, but instead of doing one for a week, because I just don't need that much space for my stitching notes, I use one a month. So basically where it's got the 7 days of the week, I just put lines across to make it monthly instead of weekly. And then yeah, for every day that I stitch, I just add a note. So I add, sorry, it's very messy. It's a working document. So I just jot down what I've worked on and how long I've worked on that project for. My WIPGO goals that are currently on the go to complete, I have noted up here. So if I'm working towards 10 hours on a particular WIPGO, I will do like a tally. So you can see here that just like that one in the middle, I'm doing my Tiny Modernist band sampler and the goal is for 10 hours, and you can see I've tallied 2 hours on that so far. The one below that for an animal project, I have tallied 3 so far, and so on. Yeah, so that's how I keep track of my WIPGO goals. When I'm aiming for a certain number of hours, I just tally it along. And then in this section here, I have, like every time I pull out a project to work on it, I note it down here if it's not already on the list. So yeah, my working document ends up very messy, but what I basically end up with is the hours that I've stitched every single day with which project it was on, a list of all the projects I've worked on here, and my WIPGO goals up here. So that's how I track it all in this very messy manner. And once I have got to the end of a month, just once a month, I then write it up neatly. Like I don't write up my WIPGO progress, that's just for my working document, just for me to keep track. But what I do write up in every given month is my actual stitching. So just taking April 22 as an example, I transferred everything from my working copy over into my stitching book, and it doesn't take me long, but yeah, this just shows me everything I've worked on in that month, how long for, and then at the end of every row, other side, sorry, at the end of every row I tally up my hours for that particular week, and then at the bottom I have my grand total. So yeah, that is how I track my stitching. Some of you have asked me, like, how do you know how many hours, like how do you keep track? That's how I keep track. I do it in a book. I don't do it on any sort of fancy online planner. I have had a look at a few of them and considered them, but yeah, I do just like writing in a notebook, and since this one is going to last me for, or at least it's going to last me for 3 more years after this year, yes, maybe I will consider changing to a different method at that point, but for now I'm quite happy just scribbling it down in here. And then the only other thing that I keep track of in the notes column here, I keep track of my starts, like number of starts, number of finishes, the whips that I've worked on, and therefore the total whips that I am finishing that month with. So yeah, for the April pages that I showed you, I had 4 new starts that month. I had 0 finishes. I worked on 8 whips in total, and I ended the month with 19 whips. And in July, that I have just finished filling out today, I finished filling that out today just before doing this Flosstube, because it is now the 1st of August. I've had 2 starts, 2 finishes, I've worked on 8 whips, so I'm ending the month with 24 whips in total. And there you go, I've done my 54 hours and 35 minutes, and you can see I've had quite a lot of days where I've just not done any stitching this month that are blank. But yeah, that is how I track my stitching, and I do sometimes like to look back and have a little nosy at what I've worked on, and yeah, just if I'm curious when I have finished a specific project, I can always refer back to my book and actually work out how many hours I spent on that project. In terms of recording my actual hours, the way that I do that is on either my watch or my phone. I have a stopwatch, like timer, and I literally just start the timer when I sit down and start stitching. if I like stop for a minute to have a drink or whatever, I don't pause it. But if I was to stop for a significant amount of time to like leave the room and go and do something, I will pause it and then just restart the timer when I sit back down. So yeah, that's how I track my hours. I hope that you've enjoyed this Flosstube episode, and I am hoping to film my next one middle of August, so kind of back on track, because my episodes have been a little bit out of sync with the dates just because of the days that I have managed to be able to film, but I'm glad I've managed to do this on the 1st, so I can hopefully get back into my routine of 1st of the month, middle of the month. I look forward to seeing all your 9-jar sale progress, those of you that are stitching with me. I will post a reminder on Instagram when we are due to start the next part, but if you're watching this, the next part starts on the 5th, so the 5th of August is the start of jar number 3. And yeah, I look forward to showing more progress pictures from everyone that's doing it in my mid-month episode when we've hopefully all finished jar 2 and we're moving on to jar 3. Yeah, that is everything from me. I hope you all have a lovely couple of weeks, get lots of stitching time done. If anyone is going to be attempting that World of Cross Stitch Halloween pattern, please let me know, because I would love to follow your progress if you're on Instagram and you're going to stitch that. Yeah, I would like to see how that one goes, and also get some feedback on how tricky it actually is to put together, because I'm tempted to attempt it, but just a bit nervous that I will get in a mess with so many different parts to the pattern. So yeah, let me know if you're planning on doing that particular bit of spooky stitching, and I will follow you with interest. Take care everyone, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.